a quick look. Who have we got? Who are our panelists today? We have the fantastic Guillermo Dufranc, Camilla Young, and Sandra Wagner. So thank you so much for joining us today on this fantastic webinar. As I said before, this is a live webinar, but it also is recorded. So if you do want to play this back at any time, then of course you have the ability to do so. Now, let me just move my slides. So I want to give, obviously, a good introduction so you can see who we have today. So Sandra Wagner is CEO of Autoveo, and she's going to tell us about the intelligent platform that she has launched last year. Camilla Young, she is program lead, next generation of Barcodes, GS1 UK, and she has some fantastic information and stories and warnings for today. And Guillermo Dufranc, who is a sustainable packaging expert at Chudimaj. And really, we are going to together explore how AI, connected packaging, and digital identities and next generation barcode technologies are really coming together. And it is transforming the way consumers are shopping. It is transforming the way that consumers are experiencing our products. And it is entirely creating, I would say, new opportunities for brands that they might not have even thought of. So we're going to explore that big question. What happens when artificial intelligence meets the physical pack? And I don't mean this in a futuristic space or Star Wars theoretical sense. I actually mean now in factories, on shelves, and in the hands of consumers, and the opportunities that that really does give us. So we are at this fantastic point where we have the convergence of these three forces. AI is becoming genuinely accessible through every part of our lives. I'm sure every one of us is touching AI in some part. And we also have the rise of serialized products, serialized or digital first packaging. And we have increasing regulatory pressure from digital product passports. We have also the GS1 Sunrise, which again, we will go into. This means a lot of change in the packaging industry, but also for brands. Is AI just a feature, or could it be becoming the engine beneath connected packaging, looking at accessible AI, looking at what actually predicts the consumer's actions before they've even interacted with your product? Could you enable dynamic packaging that changes, which shows you something different depending on who you are and what you're doing? So today we're going to explore that. And what does it really mean for brands? What does it mean for consumers? And what does it mean for the future of the industry? And I think, first of all, we should take a quick look to Sandra. She is, as I said, CEO of Autoveo. And I know that AI is very much part of the platform and part of the tools. So I think maybe I'll hand to you first, Sandra. What's happening in the Autoveo world, and how is AI making part of it? Oh, you're on mute.
So thanks for handing that question over to me. I think it's two paths where we are looking into AI. One is, of course, everything which is all about data points, and maybe I will talk about that later. But what I really think is a big change is that with AI, especially with large language models, you can give a distinct voice to your product, to your package, and to your brand. So what we are doing, for example, is that we are putting an AI chatbot, what we call an AI companion, on the product itself, on the package itself, which means you can ask as a consumer every question you might have regarding that product, regarding that package, regarding how to recycle or what to do with it. So it's really like for brands, there is a huge opportunity to ensure that their brand story and their brand strategy is really transported in language, in speech, in words, in the right way, connected to the package. And I think that will be one of the biggest changes we might see, because you just go around, let's say, in a grocery store, and probably you want to change your diet, and the products are talking to you and give you all the information you need. And that's a very convenient way to engage with the product and the brand, and also to get the information you need. So I think that will be the biggest shift we would see in the coming times.
Yeah, absolutely. And already we have questions from the audience, so people are very keen. And Fernando asks, how would you use AI in the shopper journey then inside the shop? Would you integrate the app with the shopping experience? How could that be?
Yeah. So we don't, it could be two things. So if there is already, let's say, a brand app or a retailer app, it can be integrated, of course. If there is none, we don't need any kind of app. So our technology is app free. That's one question to ask it. And when it comes to the journey, and I think that's the beauty of it, it's no longer only about the point of purchase. It's really about when you take the product back home, the conversation can continue. So that is also, I think, a big advantage of the technology, that you're no longer bound only to looking at the point of sale and really looking into, okay, I build a journey with it. I might want to do a recipe with it. I might want to combine it with other things. I might want to know how to use it, how to install it, how to maintain it, whatever product it might be. And there comes AI really in handy, because it has all the knowledge when you train it up front.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's fantastic around training and data and experience. I think those are the kind of things that you would say are really important then from what I've just heard from you. So that's a really interesting start, and thank you, Fernando, for getting involved so early on. I like that. So that's a nudge to everybody else as well, to get your questions into the chat. And I think what we learn and lean to then is personalization, and personalization at scale, because if you can have, therefore, a changing experience based on who is scanning, then actually we have that ability to do what I think marketers have always wanted to do, and have that kind of one-to-one communication. So between the brand and the consumer and the brand. And maybe that's a skincare product that adapts its on pack messaging depending on what age you are. And maybe a user is a child for a cereal box and it comes to life, but when the mum is there, it talks about nutritional value instead. So again, the same piece changing. Camilla, I'm going to come to you. What's your experience with personalized packaging experience? Have you seen any examples or use cases where you could say it was delighting, or would you say perhaps it creates a concern around data and privacy? And you might not use the word delight. You might want to use a different word, whatever you feel.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's definitely those delighting experiences, and the data's been floating around for years, but 80% of people prefer companies that offer personalised experiences, which sounds great as a headline. And I've certainly been involved in projects over the years. I did a personalised Play-Doh back in the day with your name, where you could go, but it was an experience, right, where you could go and have something branded with your name on it, and something that you created. I think what's interesting when you bring that into a digital environment is that there is a bit of a say-do gap that you have to be conscious of. And whilst people do want personalised experiences, there's also this kind of nervousness around, is Big Brother watching me? How much do these people know about me? And so it's about people need to feel that their data is secure. They need to feel that whatever personalised experience they're being given is of value to them, and also that they're not giving too much or away to get it. And I think what's really interesting about connected packaging is it doesn't have to be personalized down to the individual person and their name. I think it's about understanding that there are groups of people who want to see certain pieces of information, or perhaps when you're shopping certain products that you want to see it a certain way, and it's about just trying to adapt those experiences to that person in that moment, and really getting inside their heads without necessarily, like, literally following everything they're saying on social media or something and then serving it back up to them. It's kind of getting that balance right, getting into their heads, understanding what the consumer wants in that moment, but perhaps not giving everything away.
Yeah, no, I think that makes perfect sense, and I think that also brings us a little bit to trust as well. It's also some data that you might want to allow to be out there, and then some data perhaps not. that probably brings us to Alex's question, who's asking, how would you detect who scanned? And I don't know, maybe Sandra, that's a good one for you to answer.
That's a bit depending on how the brand builds the journey. Let's say in general, it's GDPR conformed. So you have anonymous, let's say, data. You can combine it with some kind of mobile technology, still anonymous. So you won't get any kind of, let's say, email addresses or anything like that. If you build an experience which comes to a certain kind of registration because people want to register because they got something, either they can win something or coupons or loyalty or whatever, then of course you get more data. But there is a possibility with a combination of our tech and let's say mobile phone technology that you can really go down to that particular one mobile phone, which is that particular one user without knowing who the user really is, because that is because of data protection. But it's really up to what kind of journey you are building and if people are willing to register. And then, of course, you get more data.
Mm-hmm. So you're almost saying that the consumer controls actually the release of any personal data.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
So all under GDPR and Camilla's building as well. So.
And I would like to add probably something, because we've seen in the past very, very often just a QR code and then it went on a landing page. And I'm not saying that it's bad, but I'm saying the QR code itself has so many capabilities to do more. And I can only speak for myself. So if I have that experience, of course, I will not register because it's a website. But if I do have an experience that really catches me and gives me in that moment what I truly need, no matter if it's information or something else, then I'm willing to give my data away because it has value to me. And I think that kind of mind shift that is already taking place right now, because the technology is better now. And Camilla said it, consumers expect to have personalized experiences. And that's really from timing and everything, that's for me the perfect opportunity now to use technology in combination with QR code and build really great experience where people are saying, wow, that's so cool. I want to register. I want to be in that part of community.
Yeah, and I think, Guillermo, you could probably speak to that, because we're talking about the value exchange. We're talking about the experience behind the scan. I know this is something where you're always thinking about building an experience where the consumer would want to give you the data, like how Sandra is explaining. Maybe you want to add to that.
Yeah, thank you, Jenny, for bringing that. I think that it's a great opportunity to have the product in the shopper's hand, and it's quite delicate because you have to be very clear on what is changing. Yeah, I really agree with Sandra that no one will give away his information if you don't know what you are getting. So being very clear about what is in the game is really good, and start thinking not about just collecting data for the brand. It's just adding value for the shopper, also for the persons. So a good data strategy should start with transparency and value. The brand should be very clear about that exchange, and give traceability, useful information, a better experience, a reward, as she said, a service, a deeper story maybe. I think that AI can help also that make experience more relevant and personal, and trust has to come first. The goal is to create a relationship where the consumer feels respected and informed, in control. If that happens, connected packaging stops being just data collection or intrusion, and it becomes a trust building platform.
Yeah, and I think again that goes back then to be able to create the trust, to be able to have this bridge between the consumer and the brand, where again both parties are learning. Obviously there's data, as Sandra and yourself are saying, data that can be found, time of scan, date of scan. Of course, those things are going to be available, but then if you really want to get much more richer data, then I guess what you're all saying is that you need to create something where the consumer is going to feel comfortable to be able to actually give that information over. So that's really interesting. We've got a lively audience. So I'm really happy about that. Thank you so much. Ulrike, by the way, says every product is a portal, which is a great statement. I love that. So that's over to you, Sandra. So that's a nice one. Fabio is asking the question, when using AI chatbots for consumer engagement, how can the brand manage the token usage and the cost of interaction? That's a really good one. Sandra, I think maybe to you.
Yes. I mean, that's depending if they what kind of data strategy or AI and chatbot strategies they already have. I can only speak for ours. You know, we are having a strategic partnership with Google and Deloitte to go first on the newest technology, but also to ensure that upfront we can calculate as good as possible what to do. And there's a big difference between you are having a chatbot for a product and you're having a general chatbot like ChatGPT or Gemini. Because these kinds of chatbots we are using when it comes to the product or the package itself, they are like a base model, which means you can't ask them about anything else than the product itself. And that already makes the token usage way more better to calculate than having just a general model where someone can ask anything. Because for that, you have the general models which are available. Ours are really only linked to the brand and to the product. And that makes it a bit more manageable in terms of how many tokens are used.
Okay. Hopefully that answers your question, Fabio. If not, come back. But yeah, that sounds really interesting. So it's a specific model which has been created for that brand.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. That's great. And thank you very much, audience. We're loving this. So we're talking about, of course, AI. AI can only be as good as the data that fuels it. And if we create good experiences, then we're able to access more data. But what about smarter packs with greener outcomes? And that's a shift, obviously, to a conversation around sustainability. And I think AI genuinely has a transformative role. When we start thinking about connected packaging. Connected packaging, I don't think anyone would say it was new if we were talking about telling you where you can recycle your product. I think that's something that's been happening now for a while. But maybe the AI will track the product journey through the supply chain and look at carbon footprint, or smart packaging looking at the use by date, which of course can then help with the reduction of waste. I think digitization and sustainability can really work hand in hand, and there's lots of different examples and investments that are happening in this space. But Guillermo, you are the sustainability expert here with us today, and I think traditionally it's been viewed separate from digital, but perhaps you can give us a little bit more of an insight. How can AI help accelerate the journey? How can AI and digitalization live in harmony?
Great, amazing. I love that subject, as you can see in my background. I think it's exactly where packaging becomes more interesting, when sustainability, technology, and human stories stop being separate conversation and start working together. So I would like to share you a project that for me represents very clearly, which is called Mujeres de la Cañara, and it begins in a small community in Santiago del Estero in northern Argentina, in a very humble, dry, and very challenging territory where opportunities are not always easy to find. So the project came us from one of our clients, Ricardo Parra, a producer of organic honey in Argentina, and he was working with this group of women to helping them transform a local fruit into a source of income and also dignity and possibilities. That fruit is the pricky pear. It grows in a harsh environment. It's surrounded by thorns. So it's difficult to handle, but inside it has color, flavor, sweetness, mainly value. So for us, the fruit became a metaphor for the whole project. That something that can be seen as difficult or even as threatening can become an opportunity to, when people know how to work with it. So these women uh, use those gloves because they need to protect their hands from collecting the fruit, right? So Ricardo, this man is really inspiring man. He taught these women how to harvest, process, and produce jam made from the prickly pears. And our way of contributing was through packaging design. The challenge was to create a label that could honor the work of these women and express the beauty of the fruit and communicate the dignity of the project and the manual labor. So we started from the powerful image of a hand holding a fruit, which represents the work, the care, the human effort. Also represents protection because the prickly pear is not easy to harvest, as I mentioned. The thorns can hurt, but we think the great metaphor was that transforming these thorns, this danger into an opportunity and an income and the desire of a better life. So we focused on the fruit. We wanted the fruit to carry another layer of meaning. Each woman in this project has her own story, her own background, her own way of participating. So we wanted to make that individuality visible. Yes, we were inspired by this video of the women holding the prickly pear to create the label. If you could share the next slide. And then artificial intelligence entered in the process. So we used AI as a creative tool to generate many different visual textures inspired by the prickly pear, the cactus, and all the colors of the landscape. Because we were not looking for the perfect image, we were looking for diversity, different expressions of the same origin, and also partnering with Hewlett Packard's mosaic technology and digital printing. Those AI generated textures became part of the final labels. So each label has a different texture to represent the individuality of each woman. So the result was a collection of jars. It was not just one label, but it's a canvas where that area can be that metaphor of the individuality of each person. So it provides some kind of personalization and not just decoration as a conceptual reason. For me, this is the beauty of how AI can help us to make something human, visible at scale, and not just end with a printed label, because we also wanted the packaging to connect with the story behind the product. The story, we knew that was amazing, and the label design was telling something about that. So we work with Avery Dennison and their connected packaging technology using an NFC chip that allows consumer to bring the mobile phone close to the label and access to digital contact. So suddenly the jar is just not a jar, and it becomes a bridge to a place. It's a portal that you mentioned, a community of group of women who were working to create these opportunities inside the jar, were emerging from the mobile phone, and you don't have to download anything, and you don't have to scan anything. It's just it's great, the experience, because you don't have any barriers to get to that content, and you can see the video and you can hear their voices and the story. This is the side of sustainability that I like. It's not just about materials, how to recycle. It's about also people, the social impact, the territory, local economies, possibility of creating value in a very inclusive way. Also, the project received an international recognition in 2023. We won a Silver Pens Award, which also helps us to tell us this is the correct or the right way, and also helps a lot to give more advertising in a good way for the product and the project. So the first the first products they created were already sold before being on sale. So it was great because they immediately get the the money back from the investment and get more to produce more products. So the biggest lesson is that technology does not replace the human story when it is used with intention. And digital printing, connected packaging, and AI allowed us to create a package that was not only beautiful, innovative, but also meaningful. It became a way to connect the product with the origin, the consumer, the community, and technology with a purpose. So I think it's a great way to tell more better stories with a more human taste.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a fantastic example of really bringing those things together. AI, connected pack, sustainability. You know, this is really, really, I think, a fantastic example of that. How many different labels did you actually have? Because of course it can't be infinite amount, but how many? Because I've seen a couple there, but be nice to know.
Yeah, almost 2000 because the textures were not 2000, but when you create the textures you with the mosaic technology, you can use different placement of it.
Okay.
So there are different ways of showing the same texture rotated on a different parts of each one. So although you have the same illustration, you have a different framing from each one. So with only one image you can get 10 different patterns. The look and feel is different, right? So
Yeah.
some colors are the same. So I think that there were 200 textures combined in different ways to 2000 different labels, and
Amazing.
it could continue, but
Yeah.
with the first, yeah, just the first run was that, but then they continue producing more.
Yeah, no, of course, but that's pretty amazing. So actually, you can multiply that with as you said, 200 becomes 2000. So yeah, that's fantastic. And David O'Keefe is saying very cool, Guillermo, and I think a lot of people, if not everyone, would be agreeing with people who are on this call today. So thank you so much. That was a fantastic example. Really love this example that we have. Again, of course, open to questions. Do drop your questions in the QA. And in the meantime, I think we're going to really talk about the regulation, and that takes us over to GS1 and to Camilla. And we can't really have this conversation without talking a little bit about digital product passports, which is the EU DPP framework, which is targeted for 2027, which is next year, where there is the change from the barcode to the QR code. And I don't want to maybe talk too much about that. I think, Camilla, you're leading the work around this. So I'm going to hand over to you to talk a little bit more around the compliance, the changes and everything that's happening here.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, there's actually quite a lot of drivers that are coming our way, which is around why we're transitioning from the barcode to the QR code. DPP is just one of them, and there's a whole host of different examples which I can come on to. But actually what we're seeing is that brands are making the move in advance of regulations coming, and that's because there's, I guess, even more urgent demands coming down the line, and one of them is around AI and the way that AI is changing the way we shop. So I've put some stats up here. I imagine these go out of date extremely quickly because of the rate of AI adoption that we're seeing. But this is just some research from December 25, which is that already 55% of consumers are using AI for product research on a weekly basis. 43% discovered a new brand through AI. And a lot of people are using AI, not just in and of itself and doing the full shopper journey there. So 47% are using it to narrow down their options and then going shopping elsewhere. And this is like a fundamental shift for the shopper journey and how people are navigating that path to purchase. And it's completely changing the way that brands are having to look at all my colours have changed. What's going on? Where's all the blue and orange? It's completely changing the way the brands have to think about the way they tell their stories. And this shift is about moving away from kind of human shoppers and thinking about machine shoppers. And it's a very different way of engaging those different shopper types. And you need both, right? But human shoppers tend to rely on those stories, the packaging, the advertising, and it's quite an emotional purchase decision. But when you start to think about a machine shopper, it's very different. It's really then looking at what data is out there and pulling that in and using the structured data, using the verified sources that it knows, and providing these kind of personalized recommendations to shoppers. And so the question for a lot of brands has moved away from kind of, oh, what does my brand page look like, and can a shopper find it, and become much more around, okay, if an AI agent goes looking, what are they going to find about my product? Are they going to recommend it? Are they getting the data they need to be able to put it in a list of recommendations? And is it going to push someone to purchase it or not? So that's a really big shift. And what it means is, if you want to flip onto the next slide, is the data becomes much more important, because the AI is only as smart as its sources. So if it's scraping the web and finding a real mix of information, perhaps historic information about your product or your brand, and imagine if you've got a product that's been on the market for 20-30 years, or a brand that's been on the market that long, there could be a long history of data out there, but actually over that time you might have upgraded the information about it, you might have changed the recipes, you might have changed your whole sourcing of that product or the sustainability of that product, and yet it will still be scraping some of that wider data, and even the claims and the brand history as well. So thinking about trusted sources, thinking about how that data is structured, and really making sure that you're linking that data to the product that is in someone's hand or that someone is comparing online is really critical. And I swear none of us talked to each other beforehand, but we've had the product is the portal, and I think Guillermo said the bridge, and it really is that thing around the barcode is becoming this bridge between the physical world and the digital world. And what's great about our standards is that it gives you that globally unique reference number, that means that that if you're looking at this product and it's looking up to this information, then that relates to that product that's in your hand. So that's become really important, and it's important for all kinds of reasons. But if you think about that brand experience as well, so even if you're scanning that product with your phone and you're not using an AI agent to shop, then knowing that it's using structured data and looking up to the exact information about that product is really helpful. And if you look at some of those examples that I've put up there now, first one's kind of like that digital label. Actually, if you're looking at things like the allergens or the ingredients in a product, you want to know that you're looking for that specific product and not just a general scrape of what's on the web. Similar, the Maui example is actually a full kind of farm to fork journey of that product, so it gives you where the dates that product was fished, for example, out of the sea, and you can follow that journey. So having that structured data behind it enables you to make sure that you're actually looking and considering the data about the products in your hand rather than generic data that might exist. Next slide.
Next slide is coming.
And so what the next generation of barcodes enables is this kind of one scan that provides all the human readable information that you might need, but also in the background is looking up to lots of structured data that is making sure that human information is accurate and correct, but also means that if there is a bot that is scraping the web on your behalf and shopping on your behalf too, that it can pull through the right information. And I've put loads of examples on there, the sorts of different things. So as I said before, digital product passport is just one of these examples. There's actually lots of other reasons that brands are adopting these, particularly around sustainability and waste reduction, and doing that kind of traceability of the products, giving information about how to repair or reuse or recycle products as well. So there's lots of stuff in there.
Yeah, I think there's so many different options and opportunities here. And I think There are probably some brands or some agencies on the webinar now, or those who might watch later on, who haven't perhaps really started to get involved, and they should. I would suggest that from this they should be looking at it. What would your suggestions be for first steps? Because there's a lot here. What would your suggestions be?
So I would always look at what the use case is that you're trying to solve. So pick one, and it might be that you just want to make sure that your brand and product information is really accurate and you're serving up the right information to a consumer. You might be looking at trying to make your labeling more accessible, for example, which is a great one, and one that a lot of brands are looking to do for people who can't access written information on a label. Or if you're looking at traceability, then that's a slightly different scenario, because there's a lot more to think about there in terms of how you get the data into the code and what systems you've got in the background. So identify your use case, and then it's about, okay, where are we right now? So where is our data right now? Is it in lots of different places? Is it structured in a standardized way? Who's responsible for that? And it's like about identifying someone in the business who's going to lead and who's going to look at all the different elements that you need to have and bring that together. But the thing we say is just pick one product, preferably something that's kind of relatively low risk, that's maybe new to market, and just start trying and testing and learning as you go.
Okay, that sounds right. To start small and test and learn as you go. I think really what we're saying is there's a lot of different opportunities, and Fernando has asked a question, which is what can you do in terms of health and nutrition? And I think I could open that up to the full panel, but Camilla, it's on your slide first. Perhaps I come to you first.
Yeah, so well, there's lots of different levels to this. So obviously at the moment we're really limited by what we can put on a label, because often there's a shortage of space. So you'll be putting typically the legal minimum, but actually people might want to know a lot more about that, and or you might want to personalize the information. So for example, if I was able to access the nutrition information about a product using an AI agent, maybe on an app on my phone, or maybe it's an agent that's provided by the brand, when I scan that code, then just to be able to always ask it the same questions, because typically when I'm shopping the store, I'm only really interested in like the protein levels and whether it's vegetarian. So that ability to personalize that information, at the moment, sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. You have to look around, it's in tiny writing, there's a lot of variability. Whereas if you had that with a scan and that consistent information that I'd know that it was always pulling through, that completely changes it. So it's that ability to keep expanding on that data and also to personalize it.
Anybody else want to add to health and nutrition examples? Or Fernando's giving us a heart, so sounds like that was a good answer. Thank you, Camilla. There's been some nice conversations happening in the chat. Uwe, probably pronounced your name wrong, and I'm very sorry for that. Says great project, Guillermo. It would also work with Aroveo's picture recognition, wouldn't it? And Guillermo has answered a little bit around that, but I think Sandra, that's a really nice piece to pick up on. So we've talked about NFC, we've talked about QR codes, but what about image recognition? That seems to open up a lot of different opportunities as well.
Yeah. I mean, there are still brands who are in the transition phase and don't have any kind of QR code on the package right now, and we build it in our technology also an image recognition, so that the products from these brands can also take part in the connected packaging experience. Because yes, they will all go through that process. There will be a QR code on the products, but we didn't want to leave them out. So we were thinking about, from a technical perspective, why not offering both? So you have the ones with QR code and you have the other ones without QR code, and both is possible. And that's a great technology, because it's just easy. You have your phone, it scans the product, it recognizes the product, and then the journey, whichever was built it, is starting to appear. And that's very convenient for consumers and as well as for brands.
So what you're saying is that actually brands could get involved without actually having to change the label in the first instance?
Yes. Because that's, from what we know, that's a huge hurdle for the brands. It takes a lot of time to their go-to market when they change a design from the package. It's 12, 18 months, sometimes longer. And I mean, in that right now fast-pacing environment with all that kind of technology, for them, it's really the pressure about, okay, how can we start? And so what we did is that we said, okay, you can start with what you already have until your process in the back is catching up. It's not a problem. So the products you have today on the shelf, we just use them and provide the experience. And that's really a game changer for the brands when they hear that, because this is like, oh, I don't need to change it right now. So I can start right now and do all the processes in the back. And we're like, yeah, this is how it works. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because I know lots of brands to change the label isn't a 2-second job. Pablo is chiming in there as well, saying it's a great unique selling point, which, you know, I think so. Thomas is asking the question though, without an obvious QR code, how would the consumer know they could scan something?
Yeah. So of course you need somehow explain to the consumer that there is something behind the product. And it can be, let's say, on a website, it can be Instagram, it can be social media, it can be an advertising, a TV campaign, it can be anything. Of course, it does work better when it's on the product, but not always that is possible. So it's really about, and I think I really like to stress this out. The product itself for us is a media channel. It's not only just a connected experience, it's truly a media channel that is owned by the brands. And as a media channel with every marketing strategy, it needs to be integrated in the rest of the strategy. And therefore, we are saying, yes, you need to speak to your audience with all the channels you are already having, and you are just adding another channel on top of it where your consumer is interacting with your product directly. And that also closes the gap, which we had probably before, in terms of, okay, that is somehow a one-time thing. I mean, we've seen that from the slide from Camilla. Think about with all the different things we've seen there, which are possible and which people want to know about. And being able to provide that on spot. So no matter if someone is looking for a DPP or for a chatbot or for some nutrition information or whatever it is, and it's already there, that's a different story than having just a one-time campaign because it's Christmas or Halloween and there's a fancy game around it. And this is how we perceive the product itself. For us, it's truly a new media channel because the technology is there now. And therefore, it needs to be integrated in the whole marketing strategy as well.
And so I guess what you're saying is that the move to regulatory, the DPP, the change to GS1 is a reason, but if you are doing that or not quite ready to do that, you can actually get involved. So don't miss the opportunity type.
Yes. First, don't miss the opportunity. And if you're already, let's say, looking, especially when you're looking into regulations and you need to fulfill these kind of regulations, no problem with that. And what we are saying is add on top the experience, because that is otherwise a missed opportunity. You're putting so much effort in complying to the regulations and doing everything right and preparing that kind of information. Why not adding a really good experience on top of that you engage with your consumers? That is what we think is a missed opportunity if you don't do it.
Yeah. No, and I think the audience are on board, because there's a comment here, Super Sandra, thank you, well explained. I'm sure that this is the future. In the near future, we'll have the GS1 code on the pack anyway. It will be needed for the cash test. But if a brand has a wide range of SKUs, we only need to confirm the communication with the brand once, and then you could scan, for example, the whole shelf. You're nodding, so I'm guessing you're agreeing with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, true. Yeah.
And Fernando's asking, how do you see that this could be for AI smart glasses? Would it be better than the smartphone? It's a great question.
That's a great question. I think I'm a little bit trying to look into the future, but I think when the smart glasses are more common and lighter and looking just like normal glasses, of course, that experience is way easier than with a mobile phone. The good thing is, from a technology perspective, there's not a really, let's say, big difference. From a user perspective, there is. But I assume we will see the smart glasses coming more and more into our daily life. because it's just very convenient that you have the information in your glasses. Might take a little bit of time because it's so futuristic, and it might be also a bit of overwhelming when it comes to information. So I think we as humans need to figure out when to use it and how to use it. But I truly think we are going in a way where we have these smart glasses and can just switch them on and off, and probably even an earphone, and then have a chat with an AI, see the information. I think this is where we are leading in the next years.
Yeah, no, definitely. We also have a comment here, which is interesting, and we've got obviously the product agent on screen as well, and you can definitely tell us a little bit more about that. But David says, as personal AI agents become more capable, do you see consumers manually scanning QR codes on the packaging, or do you think that interaction and the product information itself will just get pulled in by the agent? For example, if I'm holding a product and want to know more about it, what's stopping me from just talking to my trusted AI?
Yeah. I want to look into it from two different perspectives, let's say. So from a consumer perspective, you might have the preference that you don't want to chat, you want to talk. You might need to have different languages. With AI, it's not a problem. So whatever kind of question comes up, you just give it to the AI like you do it today with ChatGPT, Gemini, or whatever you use. So that's a very, very easy and convenient thing to do it. So it's not about looking at tables, at numbers, at whatever. It's just a natural communication flow. So from a brand perspective, so that kind of example you see here, it has all the brand and product information, but you can, as a brand, also give it a certain personality. So, for example, if you want to reach a different target audience because you're missing sort of group of consumers, you can really design that chatbot for that target audience, that it fits in terms of style, language, and everything else. That's a huge advantage. The biggest advantage, on the other hand, I have to say, people talk truth to AI because it's not human. And they will ask any kind of question you can imagine. And that's a huge value for the brands because it's not filtered to any kind of surveys. It's not filtered to A and B testing or whatever it is. It's just pure truth which comes out of the AI. And that's a big learning for the brands because that's true access to things they probably don't even have when they ask questions. And that's another point of data. They are really looking into it because that helps them to define a different strategy, make a better product, explain more. And I think this is also one of the huge advantages the brands see with that kind of technology.
Definitely. And I think we're moving into our future thoughts, which is a great place. David's saying he scans QR codes on a daily basis, so scanning with glasses would make his life a lot easier. But I think that opens up the question of, what do we think is going to happen? What's the future? Let's get our crystal balls out. What do you think that the future holds for Connected Pack? And it's open to all of the panel. I'd love to hear all of your views on this. How are things going to change?
I mean, the way I see it and what I hear from the discussions I have with friends and also with other groups is the package itself will be unique, let's say. A single package connected to a single shopper. With the technology and that amount of data, there is a possibility that you truly get a personalized experience. And I mean a personalized experience, like your preferences, what you want to know, where you are at right at that moment, because that single product is just aligned to you, to your profile. And that's a lot of data in the background to manage that, to orchestrate it, to make it safe, to make it GDPR compliant. But again, the technology is there. So the way I see it, it will be like the personalized product to the personalized shopper. And that's a connection where from a brand perspective and from a engagement perspective, you're truly going in a unique personalized experience. And this is where I see connected packaging is evolving over the next years. Because it's just natural, and it's actually what we were all talking about years ago that should come. So now it seems it's coming.
Definitely. Guillermo, how do you see packaging evolving over the next 3 years? Do you feel sustainability, digital engagement coming together? What's your view, your predictions?
Well, I think that any successful implementation usually should start with a clear purpose. So the mistake is to begin with the technology and then look for a reason to use it. So the QR, the NFCG, AI, augmented reality, digital passport, everything is great, but they are just tools. That the real question is, what is the problem they are solving, or what is the information they are giving? So I think that helping the consumer to understand the product, or building trust, or create a better service, or sustainability goals is the first step that we have to think about. Why do we need this technology to tell a compelling story? And the second part is the second important part is the integration, right? Is how that connection is just not a advertisement campaign, or just grabbing data from shoppers, but is using it to add value. I think that's the great beauty of this technology, is that can add a lot of value for consumers. It's not just a benefit for the company, it has to be something good for both. And also adding value for the planet, for the environment, for society. I think that's a great opportunity to integrate everything, and not just a marketing experiment, right? And not just a pilot, or think, well, let's have fun with these technologies that we have handy. And also, I think it's important, the simplicity, because we are facing maybe an overload of information coming. And if we are wearing glasses and everything screams and is merging windows and things on our glasses, it's like getting back to the ad blockers we had on our websites. So I think that we have to take care about that, because when everybody is trying to say something loud, people won't listen to anybody. So we have to avoid to create very complex experiences, a lot of information, or that the consumer does not understand, or they should be very very excited to access to what you are offering on that connection. So I think that we have to design very carefully that relationship, and what are because when you give away, or you give away your data or your time, and you don't get what you want in exchange, it's not meaningful. It will result in something negative for the brand experience. So I think it's great to build engagement, education, data, loyalty, waste reduction, sustainability goals, sustainability advice, all that things that are important for the shopper. So it's with technology, with all these technologies, I think we have to be more human than ever, and think about how to be more sensitive with all the people that we want to connect, and use technology to improve that relationship.
Yeah, definitely. Technology to improve, not just for the sake of it. I think that's super important. Camilla, will the traditional barcode still exist in 2027? Will we have wiped everything out? What's the situation?
It will definitely still exist in 2027. I think that in another 5 years, maybe we'll be looking at a lot more QR codes and not barcodes. I guess my great hope is that shopping will just be a bit easier. It will just be a bit easier for everyone, whether that's because you can find the information easier, whether it's because the link between that physical and the digital information becomes easier, whether it's because you can trust the information more because actually you've got structured data behind it. All of these things would just make everyone's lives a bit easier. And I think if we can just focus on that and how do we make it all a bit easier for people, then we will have a really successful transition. So yeah, that's my hope.
Yeah, that's a great one. I'd like to quickly ask Alex's question. He's asking, could he have your thoughts on making QR codes unique on the product? And I think that's something we can go across the board. Sandra, what's your thoughts? QR is unique?
Yeah. two possibilities already available. One is digital printing, where you get unique QR codes, and the other one is when you go into the industrial coding and marking, where you normally put on expiration dates or lot numbers or anything like that. A certain technology in there can also print very, very grade A readable QR codes. So these two possibilities are already exist, but that's just the one part. That's how to get it on the physical product. The more complex part is you need to manage millions and millions of unique products in a database, in a cloud database, to use that really. And that's a total different story. So, Alex, if you want to know more about that, because this is really my specialty, you can reach out to me and we can have a chat about that. No problem.
Great. Thank you, Sandra. Camilla, unique QR codes on the product. Yes?
Yeah,
No?
I don't have anything really to add. It's what you're talking about and what Sandra's alluding to is that you're adding a serial number, so a unique number for every instance of that product. That gives it a unique identity. If you're using the digital link structure, then you can use that to look up to specific information about that product. So if you had a farm to fork journey for that specific instance of that product, you could link that back through digitally and show someone information that is unique to the serial number that's in their hand. And that's ultimately how it works.
Thank you very much. Guillermo, I can give some words to you, or perhaps you might want to answer the question, which is how you'd prevent someone going through without having purchased the product, if it was like a lottery or an instant win.
Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
Sure. I mean, you can either comment on unique QR codes, yes or no,
okay.
or you might want to comment on how to prevent people cheating if it was like an instant win or a lottery, so they could scan it before buying.
Well, that's interesting. Well, I'm not into the security
Okay.
area or like that, but well, I think that as I said, no, the technology serves should serve a purpose. I think in in the future, all the brands will stop asking, should we make this pack connected, and start thinking, what should this pack be able to do, right? And use technology to inform, to educate, to prove origin, to help with recycling, to create loyalty, to tell a story, and also maybe the blockchain. I was remembering that one of the projects that we also work with used the blockchain technology to ensure that the profits of all the sales were going directly to a group of people that were needing that income. I think that, yeah, that technology brings a lot of different ways of adding value, but I think again we need to think about what is the purpose, and then what is the technology that we can use to get that goal. So the technology is not in front of the purpose. It should be the otherwise. So I think that any brand that would like to add technology or any experience should know a lot about the brand history and what connects with the heart of the consumers, and then use technology to make that bond stronger. So
Yeah.
so my reflection is also be more human than ever, and try to add really value with shoppers, and not just try to sell products, because we know that people don't just buy products. They connect with experiences, they connect with values, and they feel represented by what a brand means and what a brand is to them. So having that clear in mind will help us to use technology in a more meaningful way.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's a great note to end on. You know, whether it's AI or any other type of technology, it's about being useful, it's about the experience, and it's about human and being authentic. And we could have stayed talking for a lot longer. It's been a great audience. It's been a fantastic panel. Thank you so much. This will be recorded. And there will be more events. So do please stay tuned. Thank you again to my fantastic panelists and to the brilliant audience that we had today. Thank you very much. It's a wrap. Have a great day.